Oh, sure, blow your nose, we're on air.
Yeah, sorry.
There we are, live. Okay, and we are at, so far. Let's see who else is coming on. Oh, but yeah.
Maybe too nice out.
Maybe.
Maybe everybody's gone shopping because
Oh yeah, because all the silly countries have opened up. Oh, Andy's there. Hi, Andy. And we'll just see who else will be joining us. How you doing, Andy? Everything okay with you in your world? And Laura is here. Hi, Laura.
Laura.
And Jody is here. Hi, Jody. And just a couple of more seconds. So we are having the same old thing. That's good, Andy. Andy says she's doing fine. She hasn't gotten sick yet. Hi, Mel. Mel's here. So, how's everybody doing? Everybody okay? I guess those of you that are in the States, a lot of things have opened up for you. Now, and Mal, I think you said last week or so that things were opening up in Finland as well. Things have not really opened up where we live.
Well, they are
Well,
beginning to.
They're beginning to, but it's very slow.
They've said anybody that lives in the GTA, which is the general Toronto area, that's pretty close to, or the greater Toronto area.
Actually, they don't call it the GTA anymore. Now they call it the GTHA, the Greater Toronto Hamilton area.
Oh. Well, all Toronto and our area is still closed down, has a lot of stuff closed down. But the rest of Ontario is opening up, so.
Yeah, this the other things. Everything away from the big city.
No, onions, no, it's two kinds of hummus, sort of. There's a lentil hummus and a regular hummus and baba ganoush,
Yeah.
which is an eggplant dip.
Yeah, very Middle Eastern. Yeah, Jody says she's scared to go anywhere except grocery pickup. Yeah, well, I got a call the other day from my optometrist. You know, because they canceled my appointment that I go once a year, get my eyes checked and all that kind of stuff. And I had an appointment at the beginning of this start of the lockdown, and of course they canceled it, and that was fine. And I got called the other day wanting to rebook, and they could give me an appointment next week. And I said no. I said, to be honest, I'm not comfortable right now coming in. They're in a very small office. You know, the optometrist's chair and everything where you are, I mean, you're one-on-one, but it's a very confined space, and I just don't want to take the chance. My eyes are fine. I mean, like I said, I get them checked every year. So I figured I could wait. So I said, would you mind, like, if I wait a month or two? Until she says, oh, sure, no problem. She said, we'll give you a call and set you up then. And I said, okay, that's great. Mel says everything's okay. Here everything's almost as it was before Corona. Gatherings still limited to under 500 people, but in a few weeks it will be, that will be history too. And Joyce says I'm walking 3 miles around the lake 5 days a week from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. Too early, I know, but there's no one there at that time. I've enjoyed seeing wildlife, so it's been wonderful. Well, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, I keep saying I gotta go out a lot more.
Yeah, you keep saying that, but you've been saying that for years, even before this.
I know.
Yeah. But, yeah, well, now that the nicer weather is kind of here in our area, too, it is very tempting. You want to get out more. But, of course, there's no place to go. But, Mel says also borders to other Scandinavian countries except to Sweden are open, also to Baltic countries. And Jody says she carries mace and a whistle for protection. You just never know. on the one hand, nice weather and you can get out with the coronavirus, and on the other hand, you got to be careful about your own personal safety from others out there that might do you harm. It's kind of a mixed message on that, isn't there? But better safe than sorry. Yeah, so let's get into things for today. Maybe some more people will join us. They're not all out enjoying nice weather wherever they are. So yes, still no haircut for either one of us. Even Walter's growing hair back. Well, not really. But yeah, it would be nice. Although I did dig out the other day for the first time in about 25 years, my blow dryer. Yeah, I'm using a lot of hairspray these days and the blow dryer now. So it would be nice if they'd open those back up. But even still, I'm a little apprehensive about when they do open them up, depending on everything. Because again, a hairdressing salon, there's not a lot of room. There's, 3 or 4 different hairstylists in the place and other people. So I don't know what my local one will have.
I think
planned.
that would be one of the hairdresser would be a great place to have transmission.
Well, yeah, I would think.
Well, we'll see. I
We'll
would like
see.
to get my hair cut.
But I would like to get it cut. Yeah, I know.
not go as often.
No, that's true. I might not either. I mean, I haven't had my hair cut since February, and I've survived. So I usually go every 3 weeks. But anyways, Annie says she gets out to walk her dog. She's a boxer, but from a distance people think she's a pit bull, so they cross the street. No close contact. Well, there's one way of doing it. Laura says barbershops opened here in Guelph today as part of phase 2 reopening. Yeah, we're not even to the end of phase 1 yet here. But
Yeah, we're still considered Toronto.
we're still considered Toronto. And Toronto had the most cases in Ontario.
Actually, there haven't been many cases in Durham the last few days. I
No.
think it's like 4 a day or something.
But we're considered part of the greater Toronto area, so they won't open things up any more than that. And, I mean,
I can wait.
I can wait, because I know they've opened up some places in the States, and there was something on something I was watching or heard that in Arizona last week or something, their caseload was up 93% or something. So, I think if you open too soon, I know everybody wants to get out, but at what cost? So, anyways, speaking of getting out, or not, my mother. So I talked to her yesterday. I tried to get her during the week, but of course, usual, as you've heard me say before, she didn't answer her phone. Not when I call. My brother calls from BC, she seems to get the phone okay. But anyways, so I talked to her yesterday, and I said, well, what's new? And she says, well, nothing. And, that's not unusual. Whether this COVID virus thing was here or not, that would be about the same answer I get all the time. So I always try to have things to talk to her about, just, keep the conversation interesting, but it wasn't a heck of a lot for me to tell her either, because there's not a heck of a lot new going around here. But she did said to her, well, I see on the Facebook, her home has a Facebook page, and they show that the staff are doing like these sing-along things and doing some kind of dancing around and stuff like that to keep everybody amused. But they do have activities there. But the last couple of months, they have not sent me a copy of their monthly activity calendar, which they always do. They send that by email. And I asked my mother if she'd seen one of those lately. And she said no, she hadn't seen that for quite a while. Not that she participates in any of that stuff, mind you, but... And I got thinking about it. They may not be doing as many activities as they did before because they're trying to keep their population, although they're in the same building, I guess they're trying to keep them a little bit more separate. I know my mother doesn't eat down in the main dining room anymore. They got her isolated into a smaller room when my mother claims there's only 7 of them in there for lunch or dinner and stuff like that. And she told me the other day she really kind of liked that. My mother can be very antisocial. She's never happy. She wasn't very happy with all the different places she has sat. I think she sat at 3 different places in the dining room since she's been there.
Yeah, she complains about everybody she sits with.
Yeah, they're all crazy. There's something.
Well, there is a large number of people in the nursing home that have dementia.
Mhm.
She's one of the few people that. Well, I think your mother has a little bit of dementia, but
Yeah,
it's
well.
not the same as not. What do you mean? She's still functional,
She's
sort of.
yeah. So I don't know. It's just kind of funny when
Whereas
she says
a lot
that.
of the other people may not understand you if you talk to them or something.
No. So, anyways, trying to keep a conversation going with my mother is almost an impossibility. It always boils down to, so have you heard from anybody this week? No, I haven't. Okay. And she says to me, her first cousin had phoned me about a week and a half ago because she had tried my mother's phone number, what she thought was my mother's phone number, and found out it had been disconnected. So she must have had my mother's old phone number for when my mother lived in the apartment before she went into the nursing home. So I said to her, oh yeah, well, she's in the nursing home, although she seemed to know that my mother was in the nursing home, so I don't know. But anyways, she's a little older than my mother, but she lives in a retirement residence. She's not in a nursing home, and in the last, about a year ago, I think it was, her husband passed away. So anyways, I said to her, well, Mom would be thrilled to hear from you and everything like that. And so I'd asked my mother last week, did you hear from your cousin? And she says, oh yeah, she called. We had a nice chat. But she says, that lady's crazy. Okay. And then another person that's my mother's best friend, well, she's a little off the wall too. So I know everybody is crazy to my mother, except my mother. So, I said to her, so did you happen to hear from your cousin again? I mean, I didn't figure she probably had, but I thought, I'm trying to make conversation here, so let's talk about this. She goes, no, but I should give her a call. She said, I was going to do that. And I said to her, Mom, you don't have her number. Oh, I don't? Well, I don't think so, Mom, because...
Not only that, your mother probably wouldn't know how to dial out.
No, yeah, I think. And I sort of said to her, well, I don't really have her number either. And I thought, well, I can look back on the telephone and see, recent calls I could probably figure it out. But then I thought, but what's the point? I could give my mother the number.
But she'll never use it.
Well, first of all, she won't write it down because even though I have supplied her with pens and papers and everything in a drawer, they won't be handy for her, to say the least. I could phone over and have one of the staff write it down for her and put a thing, but she won't phone. I mean, it's as simple as that. So I'm not going to worry about it.
Yes, it's as simple as that.
Oh, quit it. He's got this new...
I've been bugging him because every time he does a video, all the way through the video he's going, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Let's start a drinking game. It's as simple as that.
Actually, it's just my way of saying F off. So every time so it's simple as that. Yeah, what are people saying here? Laura says, I didn't know you were considered close enough to Toronto to be included in the reopening phases. Yeah, apparently we are.
We're considered Durham Region.
Yeah. And
Durham Region is Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa, Bowmanville.
No, it's not Bowmanville. Bowmanville's Clarington.
Was it? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure if Clarington is included in that. But anyway, yeah, but I thought, no, Clarington is part of Durham Region. Because if I look up the Durham Region map, Clarington is part of that. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was.
And okay. Port Perry's part of that, and Brock is part of that,
well, yeah.
And so is Uxbridge.
Yeah, well, I think Brock is the furthest.
So anyway, the caseloads were the highest in Ajax and Pickering, but our Whitby and Oshawa and Bowmanville and Port Perry and Brock had lower caseloads, and but we're still lumped into them.
Yeah. As
one. Pickering has the highest number of cases.
So anyway,
and we're also where the big nursing homes were that had a lot of deaths in them.
Mel says her dog keeps noises as, and my dog keeps noise as Pitbull.
I think Pitbull.
Pitbull. Some people think he's angry as he barks, but that's just his way to express joy. Barking, unfortunately, is quite typical behavior for Finnish laphounds. Well,
Yeah, well, next door we have a chihuahua that's very loud and
a chihuahua
barks like crazy. every time we go outside on anywhere near, far away from them, it goes nuts and starts barking.
It's only this little thing, but it's a vicious little thing. Well, it thinks it is. Its bark is. I keep wanting to try and pet it, but I grab its little snout and then pet it like that and probably go trying to get it out. At least I don't have to worry about anybody breaking into their house because this dog, he barks at anything, anywhere. If we go out on our deck and he's outside, he barks. He can't even see us, but he can hear us, he barks. So, it might keep somebody away from their house if they didn't see the size of him. He's just a little guy. Okay, so, yeah, it was my mother, nothing next new with her. Yeah, well, everybody said they're doing okay with everything, so that's good to know. I haven't got my sewing machine back yet, but I have the loaner from the store, although I called her, Shirley, the owner of the store, the other day, not about the sewing machine, because as I've told you before, I figured this sewing machine they're going to have forever, and I was asking her about something else. I want to see if she got in these other things that we wanted. And then she says, oh, and your sewing machine, well, Roy, he's her sewing machine repair guy, did find something else with your machine, and he's got that now all fixed, but we haven't tested it yet. So, well, yeah, I says, no rush. Whenever. So, I don't know. I guess her plan to get this guy from the States to come up and look at it, they think they have maybe fixed it. Well, good if they have. But we'll see. I'm not holding my breath, as you know. So anyways, I haven't done much embroidery anyways, even on her machine, just because I've been working on some other quilts and I'm still shell shocked. So, and that's it. I finished the top of a new quilt this morning actually. It's one that I'm making up from scrap pieces from my last quilt, but I was doing a interesting little thing. I call it circle in a square, and it's essentially the block is a square block with a circle, but the circle you don't have to sew curves to make it. I have this little attachment which I did an Idiot Quilter episode on. I think it's Idiot Quilter episode 69. Don't laugh, your favorite number. Yeah, it works kind of cool. So the quilt sort of grew from that. So I'm going to show it tomorrow on my vlog. I haven't quilted it yet or anything. That has to come next. But it's kind of interesting little process. Mel says, Lappy's originally reindeer herders, so they would like to, after everything that moves. So he would
Like to go after everything.
like to go after everything that moves. Okay. Typos
Well,
again. Yeah, I see that. Okay. Oh, Doris is here. Hi, Doris. Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. Ooh. That actually exists. I mean, Shenandoah you always associate Shenandoah with old westerns, There's someone's from Shenandoah. There was a song, I think, about Shenandoah once, too. So there really is a place called Shenandoah. Okay. Yeah, so what have you been working on? How's your shirt?
I'm doing my shirt class, but we're just, where are we up to now?
I don't know.
Put the yokes on.
Ooh, yoke.
Tomorrow, I think, is,
No yoke.
tomorrow's class, I think, is sleeves.
So, any interesting things as you've been making this with other people? And when I say interesting, I mean stupid.
No, last week's class wasn't too bad. Either that or just getting used to.
Well, didn't you say there's a couple that haven't finished a shirt from the first class?
Well, yeah, there was one woman that's not finished her shirt from the first class. I thought everybody was supposedly done, but
Hi, Bum Bum.
she wasn't done, which I was surprised at. And it's really funny because those are the ones that were she was one of the ones that was the sort of seamstress.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it might have been sort of a seamstress by the sounds of
Well,
things.
so the two ladies that came to the class first, and they were really heavy into supposedly sewing, making clothes and that. And then I was a little intimidated because I hadn't really done too much in clothing making. And I thought, me and another lady that does a fair bit of sewing but it was mostly quilts in the class, were the first two that made finish the shirt. The other ones that are in the class took them a while. One needed a lot of help, but she's also a new sewer. And but the two that were supposedly the big sewers in the class, the ones that had all the knowledge, one couldn't finish the shirt. She got the instructor to finish the shirt because she couldn't figure out how to do a buttonhole. And
Maybe she just used to make moo-moos.
and the other one she said she just finished the collar last week, and she still had to put the buttons in.
Oh.
So I don't know.
Well,
I suddenly feel.
are these people still working?
Mm,
Well, maybe it's a
But-
time thing.
and they also had two lousy sewing machines, and both of them bought new sewing machines.
Oh. Oh, you mean the ones they had before were lousy, so they bought new ones for them.
Yeah, well, on there's one lady that bought a low-end sewing machine because she didn't want all the stitches on the upper models. But the problem is you buy a more sewing machine with more stitches on it, it also comes with more features.
Yeah, that's true.
Like one thing she was complaining about was that they were going to use a G foot in the class, and she didn't have a G foot that came with her sewing machine, and it wasn't there.
Well, just say hello to some new people here. Is it Bonbon or Bonbon from California. And already said hi to Doris, and Teresa's here from Missouri. Now, Doris' question: do you ever take classes together?
We have on occasion.
Mama, what did we
We did the
take?
rug thing.
Oh yeah, that one. There's a reason we don't take them together.
Well, a lot of it too is the stuff that he wants to do isn't necessarily stuff I want to do. So
Problem is he's competitive. And so we take the same class together, and he'd be always looking over your shoulder going, well, I didn't do it that way. He can be a real nag. Yeah. But no, have no interest in taking what he's doing now.
not only that, we both end up making the same thing.
Well, that's true.
And
The only
he
class,
has no interest in making clothing.
no, I don't have the
Whereas-
patience for it.
I'm more interested in that.
You have more patience than I do for precision work like that. I can't. Nah.
Actually, I find that quilting's more precision than sewing.
Well, you want to know something? That's what people say. I've heard this from other people who say, oh, I could never do a quilt. It's too precise. But they make garments. And I consider making garments more precise than making a quilt. Yeah, a quilt is precise, but it's a mathematics thing. If you can sew a straight line.
Yeah, well, garment sewers can't sew a straight line.
No, but you
Yeah,
see.
but you know
I
what
don't
thing is, okay, if your stitching is off on your seam by a little bit, nobody's gonna notice. But if you do that half square triangle and you got your stitches go a little off,
Well, that's true.
then
Yeah. Oh, Roberta's here from St. Louis, originally from Staunton, Virginia. Well, welcome, Roberta. Staunton is close to me, 10 minutes. Hello, Roberta. Oh, Doris and Roberta. Do you know each other? It's kind of like I have a cousin in Winnipeg. Do you know them? No. So, yeah, so to answer your question, no, we don't take classes together. Yeah, we like different things.
yeah.
That's Teresa says she's terrible at math. Well, there's a lot of math in quilt making, I can tell you that, especially if you're trying to design, and I still don't get this right. When I design my own quilts, I never get the measurements right. I've got a computer program that's supposed to help you with that. Fairly expensive computer program, actually, called Electric Quilt 8. And I still don't get it. And, you know, because you got to add in your seam allowances. Well, I add the seam allowances in, but it doesn't seem to matter. So I usually have to, if I'm making one from out of my head, I'd have to do a little fudging. Mind you, I'm getting a little better at that. The quilt I finished today, that one went together pretty easy.
Doris says she has electric quilt.
Yeah. Do you like it, Doris? I honestly have not used it that much. It's got a fairly steep learning curve, I find. But I even bought a book with lessons in it to teach you all the functions and everything and work through it. And I worked through the book from chapter 1 right through to the end. And unless you use it on a really regular basis, I think you get lost. At least I do. So I haven't used it a lot. It's a great program. It does a lot of things, but maybe that's the problem. It does too many things. But anyway, so Doris says she bought it 15 years ago and it was a big learning curve for me too. Oh, 15 years ago, you must have one of the lower versions. I've heard that the newer well, I've got the latest version, Electric Quilt 8. And I guess the interface on Electric Quilt 8 and Electric Quilt 7 are far better than what they used to come with. It's supposed to make things easier for you. I don't know. I don't have anything to compare it to. So, but yeah, it's one of those devices that, yeah, someday I keep saying I'll use it more and more, but I don't know. I kind of like designing quilts as I go. You know, the one I just finished today, started out with a simple block because I was experimenting with this particular method I'd mentioned before, and it grew from there. So I just move along and I look at what I've got for fabric in my stash and what I can use up and what goes together. And I tried a couple of different things today. You probably didn't notice when you looked at it, did you? Ignore me.
No, I'm just reading comments. No,
Whatever.
No, I never noticed what you did differently.
No, I guess not. Yes. Yeah, Teresa says as soon as you figure it out, something else comes out. Yeah. I do what I do, Doris says. I design as I go. Have you ever tried a Borgello? And it's lots of fun. Yes, I have made a Borgello. I took a class, but it was one of those quilts I wanted to make. And they're not hard to make, and they're very dramatic when they're done. You can get a little screwed up in them when you're doing it. But yeah, mine turned out pretty good. That's one I don't think I quilted that one yet. Nope, it's a UFO. I just have the top. I have not got around to quilting it yet. Bun Bun says, speaking of measurements, what's a good tool besides Google for converting centimeters to inches? I find great patterns that are in centimeters and have a hard time figuring it out. Eek. Well, I would think Google would be the best thing because
Why don't you just, if it's your pattern's all in centimeters, why not just use it, do everything in centimeters?
I wouldn't.
I would.
Yeah, you might, but I wouldn't. Because I'm more comfortable with inches and stuff like that when it comes to patterns.
Centimeters are easy.
And this is why we don't take a class together, okay? If I say it's black, he'll say it's white. If I say I like linear, he'll say he wants to do it in metric. Whatever. So, Doris says, I'd love to see your top of the Bergello. Well, Walter can talk to you. I can go downstairs and get it. And
what about using, do you have like an app on your phone that you can use for, I have an app on my phone that converts units, and it does all kinds of things, including measurements and even liquid equivalents and stuff like that. If you have an Alexa, you can just ask her. She usually can give you a conversion. There's lots, I'm sure there's lots of apps available that will give you the centimeter to inches conversion. Google's probably just as good as anything to use, so.
talking to people.
Yeah.
Okay, I have
How's the weather? Weather's good here. I don't know what it is right now. It's coolish today, but
Coolish?
it's 18 degrees Celsius, which of course you don't know.
Squeeze up. Okay, this is a big one, Doris, so it's hard to...
Which is 64.4 degrees Fahrenheit.
You can't get it all in the shot, but there it is, Doris. It was done with solids. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. So,
Yeah, but Mel, you're in Finland. Everything's metric.
it is a queen size. So I've got the backing fabric for it. I've got the batting. I just need to sit down and figure out how I'm going to quilt it. And originally I was going to quilt it on a long arm, but now I'm thinking, no, I'm just going to do it. I may attempt a little bit of either ruler quilting or I might try a little free motion on it. I don't know. We'll see. Or
He has other ones that did a lot of work on.
yeah, I've got about 7 UFOs down there that all need to be quilted.
No, somebody said that that's a lot of work. Is it worse than your quilt from hell?
Oh, this was easy. The quilt from hell was like something else. Quilt from hell was 420 half square triangles. It's in black and white and grays. It's set on point, which means so everything you have to put in finishing triangles into it, which were somewhat tricky because I'd never done that before. And it has mitered borders on it. So I had to learn how to do those. I did do it though. It turned out great. I did get that one quilted. I quilted it on a long arm, following what they call a pantograph.
Why did you get that one?
That one's on the bed. It's too big to lug out here. Actually, maybe what we should do is maybe do a Stephen and Walter live and have a quilt show. And Walter can show off his shirts, and he's got a couple of quilts too that have never been quilted either.
Yeah. Well,
But,
one's not even put together, so.
Yeah, Mel, it does look like a big color swatch. But the thing about Borgellos is, depending on what you pick for fabric, you can get the illusion of curvature. It's all straight lines, but it looks like they curve. And some can be very, very elaborate. As I said, that was a class, so it's kind of a beginner Borgello. And they're not hard to do. You need a lot of space when you're making them because you make these long, long strips of fabric. And then you have to cut them, and then you have to reorganize the strips so that they go off center. That's what gives the pattern look. And that isn't hard, but when you're in a small space in the classroom that I was taking this in, it's not very big, and there are about 8 of us in the class, and that doesn't sound like a lot of people, but the classroom can barely handle 8.
8 is a lot in that.
8's a lot because of how physically small it is. And this one we were sitting on top of each other trying to get it lined up. I did a lot of it outside of class time just because I was getting too confused because you have to have the space. Thanks, Doris, but I don't think you've ever seen my quilt from hell. Doris says, I won't tell you how many times I ripped seams. I wore out 2 seam rippers. Oh yeah.
Actually, that wasn't his quilt from hell. His quilt from hell is pretty.
My quilt, well, I'll see if I can get it. My quilt from hell.
It is very nice, but I know he swore a lot when he made it, so.
Well, now I'm going to remake the guest bedroom.
Okay, here it comes.
Now this one is totally quilted and everything. This is the quilt from hell.
Here, I'll hold it.
It's a queen size. And you see, all of these, there's 420 of what are called half square triangles in this, and they're small. And then one point means that's how you get these diamonds. So instead of it going straight across and up and down, it goes on these angles. So that means these pieces up here are triangles, which are called setting triangles. Plus, you'll notice that the border is in 2 colors. It's white from the top and down to this side, and then it's black along the bottom and on that side. And then you have these mitered corners. So they go on a 45-degree angle, and that's also how you get the effect of joining the white to the black. And I had never done any of that before. And it is all quilted. Quilting won't show up. This is what the back looks like. Of course, it's one piece of fabric as well. And I did it on a long arm machine, following something called a pentagraph, which is a pattern, and you have a laser light that you follow. The laser light follows the pattern. You make it follow the pattern, and as it's doing that, it stitches in everything that's there. But I call it the quilt from hell because I learned a lot, but it wasn't really that hard, but it was very time consuming, to say the least. And I always tell the lady who teaches those classes, and I've taken many of her classes, and she always does quilts that are a little bit more advanced, which is fine because I don't want to be doing beginner stuff all the time. That's how you learn, right? But I always tell her, she says, well, this quilt will be a bit of a challenge. And I say, when she says challenge, I tell the other people in the class, it means this will be sheer hell. You will be making a quilt from hell. She goes, no, it's not. It's a challenge. So,
Laura Nicholson's here.
oh, hi, Laura. How long did it take me to make that one, or to piece? Well, I was taking a class, and the class was over about a 6-week period. So from beginning to end, it probably took 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty fast piecer. And to quilt it, took 3 hours on a long arm. It's just an edge-to-edge design. And as I said, I use these pantographs for it. So, well, thank you, Doris. Do you have a 15,000, Doris, as well? Yeah, I haven't been doing it for years and years, though. I've been doing it since about 2018.
Yeah, a couple of years.
It's been about 2 years.
2.5 years.
About
probably.
2.5 years now, how time flies. I've made about, I'll probably made close to 30 quilts now. And I've got so many of them now that, like where that one was sitting, it's on their guest bed in the guest bedroom, and there are about 10 quilts on that bed, which now I kind of destroyed because that was kind of at the bottom of the pile. So I'll have to put that back together after this is over. But I enjoy doing it. It's fun. Sometimes it's frustrating. And when it gets to the point where it's frustrating, you have to walk away from it sometimes. But I always learn something. Always something. That's what I like about it. I would eventually like to make what's called an art quilt of my own design. And, well, I suppose the one I just finished today, or, well, the quilt top I finished today, the quilt's not finished. It is sort of what you might call an art quilt, but I don't know if you would or not. But anyways, I call it art. It is all art. As far as I'm concerned, quilting, any kind of craft, anyways, whether it's paper crafting, quilting, whatever, all of that is art. And just like, yes, like your 15th, they're communicating. They are communicating. So, yeah. George says, I was watching your challenge with your machine, and mine was doing the same thing. I too have parts from my store owner's machine. So yours was pulling up the bobbin too, was it, when you're trying to do embroidery in the whole bit? That's good to know. It makes me feel like I'm not the only one, and it's not just me, it is the machine as well. So, oh yes, eating bobbins for lunch. Yep, okay, good to know. I'll be bringing that up to my person at the store, although I think she knows now, because I think I told you last week.
Is it bobbins or bobbin cases?
Yes, yeah, well, I was assuming she meant bobbin cases. You mean the actual bobbin case, right? Not the little round bobbin with the thread on it, but the thing that is sitting in, the bobbin case. Yeah, bobbin cases, yeah. And it makes a horrible noise when that happens. You break needles on it, and then once that sucker gets a score mark on it, or a scar on it, you can file it, but it's never the same again. And I was going through them like crazy, as I said last week, and other weeks as well. So we'll see what they discovered this time with the machine. We have a theory, and we talked about it last week. We'll see if they have the same theory or not. I don't know. Yep, same thing, Doris. Exactly. Exactly. And Janome will not even speak to you about
Actually,
it.
I had a problem with my 550E embroidery machine a little while ago too, that it scored the bobbin case. Remember?
Oh,
But
yes.
I had that change the brand of bobbin I was using,
Yeah.
and that caused it to do that.
Yeah, what kind of what are you using for bobbins, Doris? Are you using pre-wound, or are you winding your own? And are you using like Janome's pre-wound, or are you using Wonderfill Deco Bobs or something else? Yeah, I still like Janome too. I mean, I've got 4 other machines. I collect them. Yep, all the above. Okay. Yep, same thing. Okay, well, good to know, Doris. Thanks for sharing that with me. I don't feel alone now. So we'll see what happens when I get my other machine back, when I get mine. I kind of thought I was probably never going to get mine back, because I kind of figured what she'd done is she gave me hers. I guess not. So anyways, we'll see. Oh, you only have 3 machines, Janome? Oh, geez, Doris, I'm sorry for you. Yeah, really. Those of the people who don't sew that are on here probably think we're pretty crazy. Why does anybody need more than 1 machine? It's not need. It's want. It's want. Well, actually, they didn't loan me a part. They loaned me the whole machine. So they have my complete machine. I have their complete machine, which they claim never had any problem with it, and 3 different people have used it and did all kinds of things with it. Okay. Fine.
Yeah, but I bet you they haven't used it as extensive. It hasn't been used as extensively. As
No, I'm a power user. But anyways, we don't need to get dwelling on this because I've got videos about the whole thing, and other people here not really interested in that. Oh, you brought Brother PE 800. Oh, okay.
Yeah, actually, brothers don't sell very well in Canada, and they're sometimes hard to get repaired.
And Laura says, I'm still in paper crafting stage. I can't afford sewing. Yeah. You might want to stay in the paper crafting thing. Although I spent an awful lot of money on paper crafting when I was doing it. And I don't spend any money on that anymore because I spend all my time quilting.
Yeah,
So,
the difference between paper crafting is you can spend a lot of money on supplies and tools and stuff, but with sewing, it's sewing machine plus all the stuff that goes with it.
yeah, I used to think that I invested an awful lot. Well, I did in paper crafting, but yeah, I think I've probably invested more in the quilting now. Yeah, and painting is expensive too, Laura. Yeah, that's the same as me, Doris. I have a whole room full of stuff too. In fact, that room, the plan is to gut that room and make it into a kind of combination sewing crafting room, but more sewing than crafting. But we'll see. So anyways, what are we going to talk about here? Tomorrow I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, and I don't know how I'm going to talk about it tomorrow, but some things I've noticed since we've been in isolation. One, I'm getting more new subscribers lately. I think people are bored and they're seeking out things they've never seen on YouTube before, which is great. I have nothing against that. Yay, more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. That's fine. But I've also noticed that people are taking more liberties, and not just on my channel, but I see it on other people's channels, where they're making pretty much useless comments. And what I mean by useless comments are that they're almost inflammatory. Lately, I've had somebody who's been watching all my videos on quilting and that, and I think this person may be, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, are being helpful. But they're, telling me how to get around a certain problem, or they're labeling, and I might have said something like, I don't know what this is called, but this is what I'm doing, and well, this is called this. Now, that's fine. But I don't know if they're being,
Well, no, the other problem is a lot of those videos are really old videos that
yeah,
you did.
they're from my
and
beginning.
and you were still learning, and you've now learned a lot of that stuff.
One comment, though, and the type of comment that I mean, is not helpful. One of my very early videos that I made about 4 or 5 years ago, before I was even sewing, back in my crafting days, um, the comment was, well, I like the content of your video, but your camera kept focusing in and out, and that gave me a headache. It's 5 years ago. When I basically at the beginning of when I started doing YouTubes, and I didn't know how really what I was doing, and I was playing around with a different camera system, and yeah, automatic focus was on, and I couldn't see that it was doing that, but I soon quickly learned how to fix that problem. Okay, she's right, it was focusing in and out, but it's giving her a headache. So I wrote back. I went, by the way, you realize this is a 5-year-old video. I've gotten better since then. And second of all, if something that I put up gives you a headache, stop watching. Like, who's twisting your arm? Those aren't helpful comments,
Well, it's easy for people to say stuff online and make a nasty comment because they're not actually, they would never say that to your face.
Yeah, Doris, that's exactly what I have said to them before. In fact, if someone is persistent with those kind of comments, I block them. And I don't make no apologies for it. My channel, my stuff, too bad. If you can't be constructive, it's not meaning I don't mind people suggesting things, like on my quilting ones. And that's why I'm not sure about this new one. Whether this is somebody who seems to have the need to show their expertise. If you have a need to show your expertise in something and it makes you feel good because you feel you're better than the person putting up content, then run your own channel. Share your knowledge with everybody else. Maybe you are an expert in this field. But if you are, share the knowledge through comments about this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, but I think you're actually letting it bug you too.
Okay, but that's another thing I was going to say. Maybe this person was genuinely being helpful, and that's fine. But it is a good point. Content creators are touchy, okay? If you've never put up your own YouTube channel, it's your little personal project, right? It's like if somebody walks up to you and says, oh, I really like your belt. It's a shame it doesn't go with the shirt. Is that constructive? Is that sarcastic? Is that a negative comment? Well, maybe they meant it in such a way as, oh, do you ever think that, actually if you'd had a shirt with this color in it, it would have gone better with that, or something like that. But you get super sensitive. You do, because this is your baby, okay? I mean, if you walked up to somebody and looked in their carriage, and you just have a newborn, and you go, God, that's an ugly kid. Well, how would you feel? Someone's calling your kid ugly. A YouTube channel is a content creator's baby. I don't know if you get that or not. Some people get it or some
Somebody's
people
trying
don't.
to be funny. They
Yeah.
said you guys aren't centered in the shot. It's giving me a headache.
Oh, sorry. Actually, that was our intent. We were doing an experiment. How many headaches can we give people? Yeah. That's humor, okay? And that's okay. But, sometimes it's very hard to tell whether sometimes people are being humorous or they're being, negatively critical, because sometimes our language is inadequate to get that across. If we were having the conversation where you could see each other's face, you would know what the person meant, but you can't. So as I always say, when you're writing a comment on a YouTube channel, be very careful about your word selection. Make sure a person realizes that you're not criticizing. If you're not criticizing, actually, I don't criticize I don't write negative comments on other people's YouTube channels. Oh, I may think them in my head, but I won't write that on their channel because, like I said, it's their baby, and what purpose does that serve? It's not being constructive with it.
What type of embroidery?
Just a second, I was catching up here. Thanks, Doris. Yeah, Doris says, those comments are ridiculous. I'm thinking about starting a blog too, but I'm fearful of those stupid kind of comments too. Well, I guess that's the other thing too. As a content creator, you have to develop a thick skin as well, because you are going to get nut jobs. You know, some people, especially I think right now when everybody's sort of isolated and we can't do the things we're used to always doing, I think maybe people's frustration and anger at the situation comes out in comments they write on YouTube channels, because, you know, that's what happens. You lash out. Under normal circumstances, they might think twice about writing things like that. But who knows? They might be having a bad day, and they're taking it out on you because essentially you're a stranger to them, and they have a certain amount of anonymity on there. So, you know, I can see that. I get the point of that. But if you're super sensitive, then probably doing something like a blog or a vlog or a YouTube channel, maybe not the best thing to do. Because you're not going to please all the people all of the time, right? So, Laura says, I keep deleting my content. I should start my YouTube again. Well, why do you keep deleting your content, Laura? Like, you know, there's this thing about competition on YouTube. Some people spend many hours on editing, purchasing very expensive equipment. They're trying to broadcast at television quality and the whole bit, and bully for them. However, I can't be bothered. I seldom edit anything. The only editing you will see on my vlogs or on my Idiot Quilter is when I cut from one scene to another scene, because I'm physically moving from one location to the next location. I don't have a big mixing board where I can push a button and bang, here we go to this camera over here. And I don't have elaborate lighting and that kind of stuff. You get what you get first take. It's like doing a live, except I've pre-recorded it. Simple as that. Oh, bite me. Yeah, whatever. So, you know, now if I had been editing this video, I would have taken that little bit out. So, you know, you turn around and you look at what you create against somebody who's been doing it for years, and somebody who really is doing this more than for a hobby. They're trying to make money off it as well. So they have the equipment, they have the time, they have the, you know, the gumption to do all this editing. Well, bully for them. That's great. This is what they like to do. I don't like editing. So you get what you see. Simple as that. And sometimes it works out. There are some times when it could have been better.
Simple as that.
And I'm not going to say that. Let's see. How do you spell a-hole? W-A-L-T-E-R. Yeah. Doris says, oh wait, back up here. Andy says, I used to record my training webinars. The best way I learned was to watch my own recording. Yep. And I do watch my own recordings.
Yeah, we have to sit through them.
Remember I said simple as that means F off? Simple as that. So, yeah, well, that's, you have to do that too as well if you want to, like, yeah, because sometimes, you know, sometimes your sound is off and you don't know it's off. Sometimes your camera focuses in and out. Doris says, what type of embroidery do you like, Walter?
Well, I don't know. I just pick whatever I like and put it on. Right now, it's just standard designs. Like, I don't do freestanding embroidery much or anything like that. I just do a standard design that I like.
You usually do it to make on your bags, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, GT, that you can turn off the comments.
I usually like something pretty complicated that I put on my bag or something.
Andy says, my daddy once told me, it's not what you say, it's how you say it that it matters. Yeah, I agree with that. But sometimes, you know, you need the visual clues with somebody's face, like, oh, I really like what, no, you just get a new haircut. Oh, I really like your hair. That's really nice. Or, yeah, I really like your hair. That's really nice.
Or you get what I did a long time ago when I got a permit and it took too fast.
Mm.
And I walked into work and all I saw was one of my coworkers looking at the top of my head and started laughing.
So, you know, yeah, you need the visual clues as long as as to go with the written word in some cases. Mel says, but one thing is that for us who are not from English-speaking countries, it's sometimes a bit hard to express what we want to say and people might understand it wrong. That's true too.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, my parents were Dutch, and my parents were Dutch, and they would sometimes say things wrong when they were here, and people would sometimes laugh.
Well, Laura says, it bothers me sometimes. I only use my mini iPad. Laura, right now, we are using my iPhone. That's our camera. When I do my vlogs, I use my iPad. This, right here, that I have in my hand, this is what I use for my vlogs.
So why does it bother you?
They work great for it. In fact, I was using a webcam. I use a webcam when I do my close-ups on my workbench, if I'm doing like a crafting video. And I've used webcams. I've got a couple of webcams in my sewing room that I was using when I was making my videos, because I did figure out a way to be able to switch from one camera to the other camera. And I still use those for certain things. But more or less, most of my latest Idiot Quilter episodes have all been done using this camera, my iPhone with it. And in some cases, the iPad. Because better sound, better picture quality. And I'm not willing to go out and spend $1,000 on a super deluxe camera for this kind of stuff. I'd rather spend it on fabric. So, and he says, rude people are why I prefer horses and dogs to people. And GT says, at least you don't have YouTube questioning your channel content. No, well, I'm not putting anything nasty on my YouTube channel. Oh, she says, Laura says, don't like the sound of my own voice. I don't think anybody likes the sound of their own voice.
I don't like the sound of
I don't like the sound of my own voice either. It sounds different to you when you hear it on a recording as well. But I don't think that should let you stop doing them, because, you know, I have found as time goes by, you get better at it. And if you don't, you get better at it, but you get more comfortable with making them too. Basically, at this point, I don't care. This is my channel, this is what's coming off, there you go. I mean, anybody watching anything I put on YouTube has the right and the privilege to simply turn me off. That's all you have to do. It's costing you nothing. I don't charge for it. You don't have to stick around. You won't hurt my feelings. Maybe I'm not for you, or we're not for you. That's fine. Just the way it is. Okay, moving on. Some quickies here. On TV, we just watched on Prime, which is Amazon's network, or we're watching it. We haven't finished watching it yet. The Purge, season 1. There's 2 seasons of it. It's based on that movie. They had, you know, different parts of it where, you know, everybody gets once a year to kill everybody, kind of a thing. It's not bad. Kind of like it. It's a little bit more involved than the movie idea was, because you're following different characters around on the night of the Purge kind of a deal and what's going on in their lives. So we'll see how it develops.
Yeah, actually, it's better than I thought it would be, because the title itself and the original Purge movies aren't all that great.
They're kind of gory.
But actually, the show isn't too bad.
Yeah. And someone recommended a game show on the BBC that you can watch on YouTube called Would I Lie to You? Hilarious. Check it out. We watched it last week or weekend, and it's pretty good. I just find the BBC game shows that they have are so much more than just a game show. They are usually educational. They're usually humorous. You learn something from them. You laugh, you know, kind of a thing. I really like it, so check that out. And we saw this weird movie called The Vast of the Night. and it was on Prime as well. And it's sort of like Aliens, but you never see the aliens. But in this small little town in the States, somewhere in the 1950s, um, it's different. It's not bad. In fact, actually, it was pretty good. It takes a little bit of time to get into the movie, but it's worth watching if you have Prime.
Actually, Mel's evolution about us not hearing our own voices is, I think actually what it is when we're actually talking, it's in our head and all the
Yeah.
parts, and you hear it in a different way than if you move outside your body and hear
Well,
it.
for some people, it's more of an echo chamber. So
Yeah.
Didn't you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you
Yeah.
get it? Get it? Get it? Get it? It's simple as that. Okay, whatever. Oh, what's cooking? Walter made windowsill bread.
Oh,
And you may wonder, what is windowsill bread? Well, tune in tomorrow to my vlog because I have a little video of it. But essentially, he made cheese bread yesterday, and what you were trying to?
I was going to put it in a warm spot. What I usually do is I turn on the oven for a half a minute or something like that, so the oven gets really warm inside, but not so hot that it can cook. So, and then I'll throw it in the oven and let it rise in the oven. But stupid me, I turned on the oven and forgot it was on, and it got too hot inside. So instead, I found a windowsill that was sunny and it was nice and warm.
So it was in our bedroom. There it is. He's got the curtains pulled up in the bedroom, the blinds up, and there's this thing. At first, I didn't know what it was. I went around, oh, it's Walter's bread.
It worked.
Yeah, it did work, and it was delicious. Well, you didn't cook it in the windowsill. You just
No.
made it rise in the windowsill. GD says, no, those are no other voices in your head. Could be. Could be. Doris says, do either of you sometimes do machine embroidery with no end result in mind? My pile of squares is getting quite tall, so I'm starting to search for projects to make them. What do you do? Actually, I do. I find a design I really like, and I just want to stitch it out for the fun of stitching it out. And for example, there's a collection I bought called Kaleidoscope Animals. And it's basically stylized animals done in different colors, bright colors, and interweaving together. And I really like the look of them. So what I've done is I've done about 4 or 5 of them, and I have them on squares or fabric squares that I've cut down to about 8 inches. And what I can do with them is I could incorporate them into a quilt. At least that's my plan, and I'm sticking to it. But I'm not going to, it's not going to happen like tomorrow kind of a thing. But yeah, so sometimes I find interesting patterns and just want to, I buy them and print them out or embroider them out. I mean, machine embroidery, for anybody who doesn't have a machine, an embroidery machine, is fascinating to watch. You just spend all your time watching this thing do this.
Actually, I haven't done a lot. I just had my machine since January, and I've just basically been using it to put it on the side of a bag. I do like watching it embroider out, but I haven't had any, other projects that I.
And I do like, to do the in the hoop applique kind of stuff, and the freestanding lace. I like doing that as well. And I have yet to do an entire quilt, but I've been tempted because there are in the hoop ones that you can get that you can do an entire quilt. The only thing with those is they're done as quilt as you go. And quilt as you go means you make all your blocks up, but you have the batting already in them. So it quilts them too at the same time. Then you have to put all those pieces together, and that's not easy because I took a class in how to do a quilt as you go kind of a thing. And you have to create these hinge pieces that puts them together, and they're a little on the tricky side. I did manage to do it. But I can't say I enjoyed it. So.
Actually, yeah, Doris wants my cheese bread recipe.
Oh.
Actually, it's actually from a website that I just looked it up. I decided one day I wanted to make cheese bread, so I looked it up. And the recipe that I found has called it cheese bread 2 ways. And they also have a YouTube video, I think, that shows you how to do it. I'll have to dig that up. And but I actually don't do it the 2 ways. Got the recipe in half, so I only make one loaf at a time.
GT, if you send an email to me, and my email address is my name, so it's Stephen Bland, all lowercase, all one word. Stephen is spelled with a V, and it is Stephen, not Steve. Stephen, Steven, Bland, like boring and tasteless, BLAND, at simpatico.ca. Simpatico is sympatico.ca. If you send me an email, I'll get Walter to find the link, and then I can send the link out to you. I could post it in the comments below, but what happens is, this is part of the process of doing a live for me. Since I don't do any editing, after we finish this live today, it automatically gets processed by YouTube and goes up onto the channel. And I don't do anything more with it at that point. Now I could go in and drop it into the comments, kind of a thing, but it's a little bit easier if you just send me an email. Or what, you looking for it?
Well, I'll take a look for it.
Oh, he's gonna look for it now.
Well,
So
I'll just see if it has a thing on it.
he's looking for it to see if it has a thing on it. That's what he said, so whatever that means.
No, I have to look it up.
Laura's making a cream of broccoli soup in her crock pot. Her own recipe. I like cream of broccoli soup. Sounds good. What time you eating? Around here we call those mixes that Walter had in his window. Those mixes that Walter had. Friendship starters. Oh, we feed them every day and have wonderful sourdough goodies to bake at groceries to share those friendship. Yeah, I did those once years ago. My mother was into that kind of stuff too. And I actually was saying to Walter the other day about maybe we should do a sourdough bread starter thing and try that. So anyways, this whole thing, which is, we're already over an hour in, we're going to talk today about drag because it came up last week. And it is Pride Month here in where I live in Ontario. And although this is going to be a different Pride Month since there's not going to be any real in-person kind of things happening, one of the big things about Pride is, of course, drag shows. And I'm sure everybody knows what I mean by drag shows. Basically, guys in dresses impersonating or doing lip singing to songs. There's a little bit more to drag though than just that. So I thought we would just talk a little bit about how drag got started from what I've read and know, and why it's so popular and why we don't like them. And that kind of thing. So yes, Dorsch says she adores drag, and you know, there are a lot of people that are really much into the whole drag thing as a form of entertainment, and it is a form of entertainment. On TV, RuPaul's Drag Race, I think everybody's heard about that. It's probably the best example of what's considered really good drag. But out where we live, we do have a little gay club, and they do drag shows every weekend. They're pretty bad, in my opinion. Now, there are lots of people go, they absolutely love them, but here's why they're bad. Well, let's go back a step. Why do men dress up like women? Well, actually, men have been dressing up like women for many, many years. Back in theater days, and Laura would know about this, and probably some of the others, because Laura is actually Laura Ann is an English teacher, like I was. In Shakespeare's day, women weren't allowed to perform on stage. If you've ever seen Shakespeare in Love, my favorite movie, you would see that's what it's all based around, that whole idea. But they would have guys would play the female roles, and usually young guys, especially boys whose voices hadn't changed yet, would play like the maiden parts and things like that. So Juliet, for example, in Romeo and Juliet, Juliet would have been played by a man, by a guy. And so they had to dress up as women. So that was a form of drag. In certain bars back in the turn of the century, and I mean this turn of the 19th to the 20th century, and up into the 20s and the 30s, in certain parts of the world, men who were gay would go to bars that catered to a gay crowd, but because the crowd, because it was against the law, and the police could raid them, and you could be put in prison or worse for that, sometimes to make an establishment look like it was not a gay establishment, some of the men would dress up as women, so that if they got raided, the cops would come in and they would look and see that there was a mixed crowd, but they were all men in that. Then, of course, it became more of a form of entertainment as well on vaudeville. Vaudeville used to have guys dress up in drag all the time, usually for comedy reasons, although there were some that dressed up and were very convincing as females, and they weren't doing comedy. They were performing and living their lives as females. Now, those ones became known in certain areas as female impersonators. And through television and movies, we have seen many, many examples of female impersonators. There's been some really famous female impersonators. We've seen some of them. What was that guy's name that we went and saw in Toronto years ago who did Banana Muscuri there?
Geez, I can't remember.
Not Russell
Yeah,
Peters. He's a comedian.
Peters.
That was it Peters?
No, his name's Peterson. Somebody Peterson.
Anyways, we went to this guy's show, and he was fantastic. But he was a female impersonator. I actually happened to be gay as well. Craig something, wasn't it? No, whatever. And in Provincetown, we saw some too. Now, these ones, they were doing it for entertainment, but they were not lip syncing.
Christopher Peterson.
That was it. Christopher Peterson?
Yeah.
He was fantastic. But what he would do in his show is he would blend two stage divas together as one, or he would take one, for example, he did Nana Muscuri, but Nana Muscuri singing Nancy Streisand's These Boots Are Made for Walking. And it was hilarious because he put on a Nana Muscuri accent, which is kind of Slavic, Russian, something like that. You know, these boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. And one of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you. Boom, 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 boom. He was hilarious. So he was entertaining, and he also did his own voices and his own singing. So, but he was more of a female impersonator. He wasn't really a drag artist. So then you move up to Stonewall, and in Stonewall there were lots of guys in drag, and it was, you know, the Stonewall. Everybody, I think, is pretty much familiar with that because that's really what we consider the modern gay movement. Started from the riot at the Stonewall, and that's when they started to use really the term transgender. Now, there's a difference between, and this is a whole conversation on its own, but a drag queen is not necessarily, but could be, a transgendered person. But that's not necessarily so. So anyways, we won't even get into that because it gets really complicated to start talking about that stuff, and I'm no expert on transgenderism, so not sure. But as a form of entertainment, that's what drag has become. And RuPaul's Drag Race has basically put drag right on the map. It's one of the biggest television shows there are out there now with all of that. If you're interested in the history of drag, you can find YouTube videos about it as well. Doris says the makeup aspects are fascinating. Yes, these are truly, they are artists when it comes to makeup. Because they and the whole transformation that they do, and some are so believable. It's like, is it live or is it Memorex? If you're old enough to know what I'm talking about. You know, is this really a guy in a dress, or is this really a woman? Because sometimes it is extremely difficult to tell. So that's sort of a brief and very understated history of drag. So why is it so popular in the gay world? Well, I think there's a whole lot of reasons for that. We were just talking, I watched a little documentary on Netflix this afternoon about a drag queen out of the States called Trixie Mattel. And she basically was somebody who won one of RuPaul's all-star editions of the drag race thing. And it was talking about her life. And you notice I'm saying her, because when they're in drag, it is common to refer to them as she, because that's their alter ego that they are playing. You don't call them him, it's a her. And that's how you can tell straights from gays sometimes in there as well, because the straights will call them a him, and the gays will call them her. So, that's a little tidbit of information on the side. So why is it so popular in the gay world? Well, one, the gay world is really about being out there and being outlandish. And there's nothing more outlandish than a drag queen, okay? From their costumes to their makeup to the songs that they'll lip sync to or whatever, they're very outlandish. I also think it attracts the gay world because, unfortunately, in the gay world, there's a lot of unhappy gay people. Unhappy because, you know, for years and years, and still goes on today, worse in certain parts of the world than others, but, you know, gays basically feel like second-class citizens and are made to feel that way. Many gay people have come from home lives that did not accept them for their sexual orientation. And many gay people want to feel accepted and they want to feel special. And you can't feel much more special than being a successful drag queen performer, because you are getting the same as actors and actresses and everybody that's in show business. Why are they in show business in the first place? It's because they like to be appreciated for something they do. And applause is their reward for it. And, you know, it makes them feel good. And if you watch this Trixie Mattel YouTube documentary, you will see that in there. It's discussed as well. So I think that's one reason why it's so popular. I think another reason it's popular, beyond the entertainment value, is because it's different. I mean, what would you rather go and see? Would you rather want to go and see a guy dressed up really well as a woman who's making you laugh, who's keeping you entertained, or do you want to listen to a lounge singer? I'll go with the drag queen. And I'm not that fond of drag.
Yeah, it's a form of entertainment, I guess.
Yeah.
Or that gay people were putting on in front of other gay people. So, I mean, there were probably points in time. There were points in time in the '80s and that where gay clubs couldn't get entertainment in because they wouldn't work in a gay bar. Right.
Yeah. So you know, like drag is can be very entertaining if it's done right. And then that brings me to, what's the difference between bad drag and good drag? Now, I can only say this from my point of view. I personally am not attracted to drag. I've seen many, many drag shows over the years, and that's probably one reason why. But to me, it's, well, I think it was summed up in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, very well. It's a cock and a frock on a rock. I mean, you know, no matter how good they look, that's only good for the first 5 minutes. You got to back it up with some entertainment quality. Now, many of them are comedians. Most of them, they try to make you laugh, and that's good. But you know what comedians are like, right? You either love them or hate them, because some are really good, some are really bad. Same thing in drag world. Also, the kind of humor that is often delivered by drag queens tends to be sarcasm, usually meant to cut somebody down, to make fun of somebody, pick on somebody in the audience, to be belittling. And after a while, that's just nasty humor. The other thing about drag is that there's always music involved, of course, and it's lip syncing.
Most of them are lip syncing.
Most of them are lip syncing, and you know, some do it really well, to the point where the illusion they're creating, you actually think they are singing. But there's others that just do watermelon, watermelon, watermelon under their breath, and you can tell they don't have a clue what they're mouthing. And of course, along with that goes stage presence, right? If they're just going to stand there and stare at you and watermelon, watermelon, that's not good drag. When we were in England, in London, last time we were in London, we went to a place off of Trafalgar Square that had an afternoon. It was a pub. It was a Sunday afternoon. They had a Sunday afternoon drag show. It was so good. Actually, we had gone there twice on 2 different trips to London because they didn't lip sync. They sang using their own voices, and their voices were not imitations or parody of female voices. Like, they weren't singing in falsetto voices. They were singing in men's voices, in their real voices, and they were really good. Yet they were dressed in the drag and the makeup. So it didn't disrupt the illusion. If anything, you admired them for their talent. And they were extremely witty as well. That was very entertaining. I'd say I really like that kind of drag show. But the kind of drag shows we have here, even in Toronto, there are some big names in drag in Toronto, and essentially most of them, there might be 1 or 2 that don't do this, but most of them lip sync, and they're just bitchy. They're bitchy to the audience. So well, I guess the audience likes that for the most part. So, I mean, that's, whatever works for them. So that's why I'm not really that fond of drag in general. But the ones who do their own voice or actually are female impersonators, like, okay, there's a lot of them like to do Cher, and it's like people doing Elvis. There are good Elvises and there are bad Elvises, and there are good Chers and there are bad Chers. And unfortunately, most of the Chers I've ever seen that have been done are bad. Because, they're just bad. So, but again, it depends on who you are and what you like. The other thing that bothers me about drag is, and I've already touched on this, is I really think drag is done not so much for the art form, but for the attention. And again, that goes back to what I said about, people who get into drag. Not all of them, okay? I'm not trying to whitewash the drag community, but the ones that I know, that I've experienced, every one of them has some issues. I mean, we all have issues, right? But they have more issues, it seems. And, they come from a bad home life when they were a child. They were abused as a child. They always felt that they were on the outside of society, that they were never accepted for who they were, and this kind of thing. So it's an ego boost for them as well. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a thing from what I've seen. And then, of course, you've got RuPaul's Drag Race. And then you've got, if you haven't seen it, it's an excellent show. I think they've had 2 seasons. I'm not sure when the 3rd season will come out. It's called Pose. And those are different. RuPaul's Drag Race is drag. Guys dressed up as women. Pose is more leans towards the transgendered community. People who basically, many of them, not all of them, but they're basically people who identify with the opposite sex they were born into. And so that show gives you a little bit more insight into the whole world of the spectrum of, dressing as a female to, believing you are female or male. It works both ways when it's the opposite sex. And that's where I said this whole question about transgender and drag can get very, very complicated to try and decide, what the differences are. It's not black and white by any means. But if you don't understand what I'm talking about, look for Pose. Watch a few episodes of it. It's a really good show, and it really gives you a lot of insight into a whole underground culture where they have things they call balls, which are basically competitions, and they're hard to describe because they're not drag shows. They are competitions based upon female impersonation, but dancing, singing, and posing. They call them pose because it was born or was part of the Vogue movement. Remember Madonna's Vogue? Actually, that's what Madonna's song is sort of about. Hard to describe. Go on YouTube. You can find things that talk about this particular program, and it'll give you a bit of an insight into all of that. So, yeah, those are the things I want to talk about. But I see that everybody here has got some comments, so let's see what they are. Laura says there's a movie on Netflix called Dumplin', where they feature characters who dress up like Dolly Parton. Oh, okay. Haven't heard of that one. Might check that one out. Mel says, this is a bit emotional subject for me, as my good friend was a drag queen and had gigs in many clubs in the 80s and the beginning of the 90s. Unfortunately, he died from AIDS in 94. Really miss him. Yeah, we've have friends that have done drag or do drag and things like that, too. So I know what you kind of mean about that.
And we have had friends that passed away from
Oh, yes.
HIV, so.
We've had many, actually, over the years that we know, too. So, yeah, and I'm not going to really get into that because, well, for one, as Mel says, it's kind of an emotional topic, and it's not a topic that I think we need to discuss right now. Maybe someday. Andy says, years ago I went to a Chicago club called the Baton Club. The female impersonators looked better than the women in the audience. Yeah. That's the thing. You know, like, drag queens could really teach some people how to dress. And when I say some people, I mean women.
Or put on their makeup.
Or put on their makeup or something, because these guys really know what they're doing with it. I mean, that's an art in itself, isn't it? The whole makeup thing. GD says, gay equals happy. That's the story of everyone. Everyone wants to be appreciated and respected. Yes, that's true. I guess it just goes to how far will you go to get that. The other reason I don't like drag shows is because they go on for too long. At least the ones we have out here. They always like to be fashionably late for their own gig. They'll say, okay, the drag show's going to start at 9. It doesn't start till 11. And it's only going to run until midnight. Then the dance music's going to come on. This is at our local club. And it doesn't until 1 or something. And I'm an old man. I can't stay up that late with it all. It just gets annoying when it's that way. Other places, though, don't. They have a more rigid...
I don't mind if the artist is truly entertaining. Mm-hmm. A lot of the ones we have out here
are not.
They just are in a dress, they come up and they lip sync to a song, and sometimes they're not that great. So, and if you see it once, so the song changes to a different song. It's still the same thing.
The same thing, yeah. Now, in the bigger venues and that do it, where, you know, they get actually
like paid. The guys that we saw in England, they put on a show, and it was worth sitting around waiting and watching it, because then you didn't get bored of it. Plus, they sang in their own voices and everything, and they were animated, and they actually put on a very good show.
Now, we have a friend. He doesn't do drag anymore, but he used to do some really cutting-edge type of drag. Remember when he did...
Jeff?
No, Twiggy.
Oh.
When he did, what was her? The one that passed away, the British singer, Amy Winehouse.
Yeah.
He did that one song. It's the one where there's basically...
Hysteria or something.
Yeah, Hysteria. He was crawling on the floor. He had a great outfit for it and the whole bit. And it was theater. And it was good theater. So, you know, some of them. And then another friend of ours, he used to do, his character was called Read a Book. They always have great names, okay, for drag queens. Read a Book. He wasn't trying to look like a passable female. He was playing the clown, and he had a really good sense of comic timing, and he had great comedy material. He was very entertaining, very funny. So, you know, there's the difference there. And he planned those things. He thought about what he was going to do. Some of them just come out and they think it's enough to have great makeup and a dress, a nice shiny dress.
Yeah, but like anything, I guess any performer, there's good ones and there's bad ones.
Yeah, that's true. Also, You know, what bothers me about drag shows too is that the straight world has really taken it on now, as the straight world always does. They take everything away from the gay community. Sorry if that offends you, but it's true. They get involved in these things and it changes the whole atmosphere. Now it becomes something that there's a lot of straights that go to these things.
Yeah, like we went a few years ago to Montreal.
Yeah, that's what I was
and
thinking
they have a club there where they do all drag in. We went to the club a few years ago and found the entire place was
Filled
with women, and it turned out it was a place for people to. They drove out all the gay people, and it was taken over by people having stagettes.
Stagettes. They drove out the gays for that. Yeah, like, and they weren't there because they appreciated drag. They were there because they wanted to get drunk and go out. And these women were being very aggressive with some of these guys that were up there because they were trying to feel them up too. You know, oh, you're wearing a dress. Well, where do you put that thing? And like, no. That's not what these things are about. But if the straight world gets their hands on something that's gay and then they try to claim that they're into it and the whole bit, they ruin it. The straights ruined the gay pride parade in Toronto because now there are more straight people. They call themselves allies. No, they want to see the monkeys perform. That's all they want. Most of them are not allies.
Getting too political.
Yeah, I guess I am. Well, I'm sorry, but this gets me riled up about it. You know. Anyways, just see what people are saying. Doris says she wonders why it's like that in Toronto. It's Toronto. That answers a lot of things. Reminds me of the movie Kinky Boots. Yeah. But Kinky Boots now is, again, it isn't so much about drag as it is about transgenderism. And again, that's
different.
That's different.
Because the guys that dress up in drag don't want to be women.
No, they don't want to be women.
They're just doing it as entertainment.
Yeah.
Sort of like how a clown would dress up at a birthday party.
Yeah.
You know, like it's somebody putting on a suit to entertain people.
Yeah. Some do make a living from this.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very hard living because you're not going to make the money that, I think that's why the ones who get accepted onto RuPaul's Drag Race, some of those do go on to do other shows of their own and things like out in the community, but they're not making hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're not like movie stars in Hollywood.
There are some that are actual transgender people that are transitioning and they can't find a job, so that's
so they do that. There are actually conventions for this. RuPaul sponsors one, and I'm not sure where it is in the States. It might be Las Vegas. Everything's in Las Vegas. But it's called DragCon. And everything related to the drag industry, from, you know, costuming to hairstyling, wigs, makeup, spin-off entertainment venues, things like that. I guess it's quite popular. A lot of people go to this, and a lot of people go to it that have nothing to do with the drag community whatsoever. They just go because they, you know, they have an interest in that. They like drag. There's competitions for, I don't know what they call it, but we knew a drag queen who spent a lot of money to go to one of these. It's a competition. In Chicago, she had to hire backup dancers. She had to have sets. She had to have all kinds of costumes. It cost her thousands upon thousands of dollars to get into this competition, and she almost won it.
She became second.
She became second, yeah. And actually, though, what happened, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was something that happened.
The one that won died, and she became it,
yeah.
or something, unfortunately. Yeah, it was like, it's not funny.
Yeah, actually, I think the one that passed away, I don't know, I can't remember if he got sick or if he drug overdosed.
Yeah, or something like that, yeah.
It was something weird that happened.
There's a lot of alcoholism in the drag community as well. I mean, if you see one of these drag shows, you will see a drag queen, free drinks coming to them all the time, and they will spend a part of their entertainment, at least the ones in Toronto and the ones we have out here, down in one drink after another out of it all. People buy them drinks when they're performing and that kind of stuff. So, and I imagine there's other substances as well. And I think that goes back to what I said before, that some of these people have other issues that, you know, this all feeds into, or they feed into it. I don't know, whichever. So it's not an easy life, I don't think. GT says, isn't the reason to do that is to present it to a wider audience?
I think for straight people. The comment back from straight people that was there for a while. About presenting their show to a wider audience, including straight people.
Yeah, but drag queens didn't go out looking for the straight audience. The straight audience found the drag queens. In the early days, when we were first coming out...
Well, they don't turn away business. But
no, they don't turn away business. No bar's going to turn away business. No. And it's not illegal for a straight person to go into a gay bar to see a performance. It's fine, they can do that. But back in the 80s, you didn't hear people doing that.
No, in fact, we were standing at the door of a gay bar once, and a couple of guys accidentally walked in, realized it was a gay bar, and they go, "Oh, get out of here!"
You know, they don't. But now, you might not get in because the straights all have the good seats.
Yeah, well, that's happened to us in Montreal. We were basically the only guys in the club. It was all women.
Yeah.
And basically, we heard from other people that worked there and that it was that the women had taken over, and and gay people don't go there anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not that the drag queens have gone out looking for a straight audience. It's the straight audience found them, and it's cool. It's cute to do it. And now, in the 21st century, the lines are blurred between, at least here in our area, in Canada, in Toronto, kind of a thing, where straight people have no reservations. If they want to go for an evening of entertainment and they want to see a drag show, they just go.
Yeah, see, and us being gay and that, we always liked going to a gay bar because that was only there.
And a gay bar was a safe space for us. And straight people, no matter how much of an ally they are still, for our generation, are still a threat in our environment. If the straight people are coming into a gay establishment, we feel somewhat uncomfortable and threatened. You've invaded our space, kind of a deal. But with the millenniums and things now, it's all fluid.
And businesses can't turn people away.
And you can't turn away, so, you know.
Because that's discrimination.
We're just not special anymore. We all want to be special.
Anyway,
maybe we should do drag.
We're
getting off topic anyways.
And we're getting late.
Oh, we're getting past our time too. So anyways, so that's what we thought we would talk about this week, because such as it is, because someone brought it up last week and we thought, well, that would be an interesting topic. So if anybody's got any other ideas for topics you would like us to talk about, they don't have to be about the gay world, okay? They can be about anything. We will talk. Oh, Doris says, she's such a sweetie. You'll always be special to me. Thank you for the chat today. We love you, Doris. In fact, we love you so much that I won't do what I usually do with anybody that's name is Doris and call you Doras. Okay? And that's just because you're special to me too. All right. Enough is enough. Okay, we're going off, people. So we'll see you next week. If you've got any ideas, put them in the comments below for things to talk about. And we'll go for there. So thanks for joining us. Have a good whatever left of the day it is for you and whatever time zone you're in. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.